As a DJ, you're going to come across many different types of cables. Hey, my name's Dan from DJ Mentors, and today we're talking about something that's very close to my heart. Now, I have a strange confession to make. I love rolling cables. It's something so serene and just relaxing about taking a long 30-meter XLR cable, rolling it up perfectly, and being able to throw it without getting one tangle. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a different video. But today we're going to look at the different types of cables that you might come across in your DJ journey and what they're used for. I wanted to start by talking about one of the most old school cables that we still use, and that is the RCA cable. So the RCA cable might look quite familiar to you. These were what old VCR machines used to use, and they used to have a little yellow spout for video. This cable is essentially two cables. It's got your left and your right audio. So red is right and left is white. So there's a nice little rhyme to remember. Red is right and left is white. These are usually used to connect CDJs or turntables to the mixer. And the thing that you want to make sure is that these cables need to be quite short. So the reason is because they are unbalanced, and we'll get to what that means in a moment. But just remember, you should never use an RCA cable that's probably more than about 2 meters. 2 meters is the absolute limit. Anything longer than that, you're going to start picking up some interference and some noise, and it's not going to be pretty. The other audio cable that you're going to see quite a lot is the XLR cable. Now the XLR cable has two ends. So you have a pointy end and a receiving end, or a male and a female end, and this runs one particular direction. These are used mainly to connect your speakers. So this is one cable, so you'll use one to your left, one to your right, and this will usually go from the mixer to your speaker, or from the mixer into an amplifier. And these are balanced cables. That means that if you have an XLR cable, you can run these over very, very long distances and you're going to be fine. You don't have to worry about noise necessarily because these are balanced cables. The next cable you might run into is a 3.5mm jack, or sometimes known as an iPod cable. So this is one cable. Usually you'll also find these adapters to a 1/4-inch jack. And this is just dependent on what kind of output the mixer has for the headphones. Some have both 3.5 and 1/4-inch jack. You might find some variation of these cables, something like an RCA to 3.5, and that's quite popular to plug an iPod into the back of a mixer on one of your spare channels. Now let's get into the digital realm. So to connect hardware to your computer, you'll often see something like this. This is a USB cable, and specifically this is a USB-A to USB-B. Some people know this as a printer cable. So USB-B has a more squarish type look, and this is used mainly to connect mixers or controllers or digital turntables to your computer. The next form of digital cable that you might see a lot is the RJ45 or Ethernet cable. These come in different categories, different colors, so you'll often see blue, white, purple, and these are just your standard type of kind of internet connection cables. These are mainly used for networking equipment together and also sending some forms of digital audio over long distances once they've been converted. That's an RJ45 or Ethernet cable. Standard is Cat 5 and up, so Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7, and those cables can be shielded or unshielded, and the cable itself is either twisted or untwisted, but that's not too important as a DJ. Just any Ethernet cable should generally do the trick. Lastly, in terms of power, the most common power plug you'll see is called an IEC lead or cable. These are sometimes known as like the old school kettle plugs, and they have 3 points of connection. And on the other side of this, we have the Aussie 240 volt power. So this will usually power most of the equipment. And yeah, you can usually run these reasonably long, but make sure that there's no kind of breaks or kind of slits in these cables because you might electrocute yourself. And those are the most common cables you're going to find as a DJ on the road. And this is how you'll connect most of your equipment together, from your mixer to your speakers. It's important to know the difference between those cables. Just quickly, if you're interested, the difference between balanced and unbalanced audio is that balanced audio has 3 connection points. It has a ground, and it has a hot and a cold. Basically what happens is over those lines, we send the audio, and we also send the reverse of that audio signal. Now, when it gets to its destination, that signal is flipped on itself, and any extraneous noise that it's picked up is cancelled out. And so that's why we need 3 different connector points. Whereas with something that is unbalanced, like an RCA, it's only got 2 connection points. It's got the ground and the hot. And that will pick up a lot of the extraneous noises, and over a long distance, it actually acts as an antenna and starts to pick things up. So just remember, if you're running RCA, make sure the cable's quite short, and if you're running XLR, you can run those quite long. Hope that helps, and now when you see these cables, you know what they are and what they're used for.